We have 4 goals at APPR. The first is to shape the national dialogue on pretrial justice to emphasize success and equity. Second, to create an expanded network of system and community stakeholders who champion pretrial justice. Third is to enhance the capacity of stakeholders to implement fair, effective, and equitable pretrial practices. Our fourth goal is to support and expand the community of jurisdictions engaged in data-driven pretrial practices.
Prior to APPR, we were trying to make a pretrial system that was fair and equitable, but we had very little support.
There was a great need for this work. Pretrial is a very important component. It is the only place where people enter the system, and then it also impacts the decisions and the outcomes.
When we first started at APPR, one of the goals we had was to actually change the language used, both within our project and really in the field. But it started with us, and we banned certain words from our language. You couldn't use the word defendant. You had to refer to the person as a person. You couldn't use the word risk. We wanted to talk about the likelihood of success. And so we were using our language to really change the practices that have been used for decades and the perceptions that exist. What we now see 3 or 4 years later, we go to workshops and the whole field is using that.
When you say the likelihood of success, that still is a positive way to say, here's an opportunity for growth. Here's an opportunity for the person to be successful. And so that's really an important component with APPR.
For me, it's about humanizing people that are going through a process that has oftentimes dehumanized and disconnected them from their liberty, from their families, from their humanity.
This pretrial work is absolutely changing our community here in Youngstown because people didn't like coming here. They didn't like how they were treated, how they were talked to. And so when you see individuals coming in, treated and regarded as human beings while they walk through this process, it has helped our community believe that, guess what, you can trust the system.
I have used language guide that APPR provides. It helps me understand the terminology that's used when making state, local, federal policies to ensure that we're doing things according to their standards.
APPR was able to come in and help us look through the lens of this is a person's life we're dealing with, and it's not necessarily just, a name on a piece of paper.
This is the first time in Youngstown and maybe Mahoning County where everyone sat down together in one room and tried to create change.
What we know is that real change happens when there's collaboration amongst not only principals, but with the community. So it's very important to bring individuals from the community into these conversations and to collaborate with all of the stakeholders where everyone has an equal seat and an equal say at the table.
Our stakeholder team consisted of myself, the Director of Corrections, the Director of Community Corrections, District Court Judge, a County Court Judge, the City Prosecutor, a Deputy Public Defender, Sheriff's Deputies, and also from the local police department. And APPR came in and really helped to facilitate and help to move our meetings and our implementation process along. And so when we started, everybody was on board.
We all come from different vantage points, but we all want justice to happen at the end of the day. So having that safe space where we could communicate and collaborate and produce something that we could all be proud of was worth all the hard labor.
There really is no central resource for people in the field to learn about pretrial justice. There's no central resource that provides technical assistance to jurisdictions, provides a model for system change, and also offers regular streams of free training for the field.
When I started this job, there was no one to go to for questions. So being able to email somebody or post a question on the board to say, does anybody know how to do this? Does anybody know where I can find a class? Where there's a webinar, who is the expert at this that I can talk to so that I have support and I have people to vent to and to bounce things off of. And I get that every time within minutes, there's somebody answering my questions or saying, hey, give me a call or let's jump on Zoom and work through this whole process. And it's from people in rural counties, metros, and in between, from one end of the country to the other.
We use APPR resources daily, whether it's our PSA scoring app, our release conditions matrix, the APPR workspace. For training new staff, we can't operate in our current system without the resources that APPR has provided.
The learning site and the learning community that APPR has developed, that was genius. We developed a system map. We developed our RCM, our release conditions matrix. We developed a GPS monitoring team with our higher risk supervision level cases. We also, when it comes to our judges are now much more educated on the PSA. We had no idea what these things were when we started.
We started expanded data collection, and what that entails is looking at what we want to measure, because for us as a jurisdiction, we can't change what we can't measure.
APPR and all their resources helped us to see that not everyone needs to report in person. Since we started the program in 2019, we had 2 release levels. You call in once a week or you report in person once a week. We're at like 98% success for people appearing in court.
In the stakeholder meetings, they're starting to look at their local data, talk about it, collaborate across disciplines, and make decisions for improvements in their pretrial systems.
We can bring that information that would not otherwise be available to us to the small rural counties so that our people get a chance to have successful outcomes as well.
Through this entire process with APPR, we understood the importance of linking people with supportive services upon their release. Our last data has shown that we have released 24% of people without financial conditions of release onto supervised release. That's 1 out of 4 people that may have been in jail, that may have lost their housing, may have lost childcare, their jobs.
We are literally affecting people's lives. And it's important to understand that the work that APPR does, the training that they offer to make sure that pretrial justice is fair across the board, is to see that my mother, my father, my son, or my daughter, or your son or your daughter is treated with dignity and treated with fairness in the pretrial process.
We have to remember, it is literally that, pre-trial. APPR drilled that into our heads from the beginning. Absent a guilty conviction, you stand innocent. And that principle is to be the bedrock of this system. We can't lose that principle.
I have never seen people so happy as when they talk about what they've achieved with APPR support. It has been transformative for their jurisdictions.
I would characterize the support that we received from APPR as absolutely game-changing. It was the missing link for us to make headway into what we wanted our system to look like.
I am so thankful to APPR for opening our eyes here at Youngstown Muni, and I think it's helped us move the justice ball forward here in our valley.
We have to ensure that APPR is here because for the foreseeable future, we are going to have courts and court systems. And we're always going to need people who are able to provide technical and practical assistance to those who are in those spaces. I think that in itself is the reason enough, because people like myself who have a good pretrial experience are more likely to engage in that process. And when people engage in the process, they have a better life.
In my 29 years of experience, I have not seen any other organization have the ability to provide the technical assistance, the resources, and the training that APPR has been able to accomplish in the past 5 years.